So here we are with the Cupra Born V2, which is the mid-range version. I'm going to just walk you around the car and talk about some of the features I like, some of the features I don't quite like after spending a couple of days living with this car. As you can see from the styling, it's pretty attractive. It's obviously based on the Volkswagen ID3, but with a slightly prettier frock on. The copper badging and trim detail suits the car, I think. And this is the Aurora blue paint, which, as you can see, it's a bit overcast at the moment and it just looks like a normal dark blue. But when the sun really shines on it, it does have a bit of a kind of a turquoise sort of tint, and it really does reflect quite nicely in the sunlight. The boot is pretty spacious, loads of space in there, although you do also have underneath the floor here a little cubby hole there to store odds and ends, or you could put the charging cable in there. It comes with a reversing camera as standard, which I've found to be pretty helpful, and also front and rear sensors on the V2. You've got a nice wide opening there to throw your kids through, and there's plenty of space in the back seats as well. You get a couple of USB-Cs to charge devices. You get pockets in the back of the seats and LED roof lighting as well, which is quite nice. You also have decent, just jump in, decent leg room, excuse my legs, and an okay view out, although the backs of these seats do kind of get in the way a little bit, and I suppose some people might feel a bit claustrophobic. Kids don't tend to worry about stuff like that. They've still got a decent view out of the rear windows there. Moving to the front of the car, you've got a good space in here as well. I'd say for a family of four, this car's going to be quite nice to live with, quite easy. You've got good mirrors, good visibility all round with these quarter light windows here. And the overall ambience in the cabin is pretty nice. The infotainment system is pretty responsive. It's certainly not the worst I've ever used, although what frustrates me about it is a lot of the features you have to press 2 or 3 times on different buttons on the screen, and it's not always immediately apparent which buttons do what. I'm sure in time you'd get used to it, but as someone who's driven a lot of VW products before, or VW Group products, the infotainment systems used to be really intuitive and easy to use. 1 button got you to where you needed to be, or 2 if it was a more complex operation. But with this system, it's almost like there's a bit too much going on. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay though. It works great, as you'd expect. You get, once you've hooked it up once, the car always remembers it's there. But even things like adjusting the climate control can be a little bit fiddly. These sliders here are just no good. You'll have seen plenty of reviews talking about these sliders, how they're not backlit, and the reality is they just don't work. Having said that, the touch buttons on the steering wheel, I don't mind. Now I'm used to them. I'm not accidentally hitting them. I tend to hold the steering wheel like that when I'm driving, and I'm not catching these buttons at all. And the instrument binnacle here is also pretty good. Driving it around for the last couple of days, on a longer journey, or bit of motorway driving, about 70% motorway, 30% town driving, I've been averaging 5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is a battery range of about 290 miles in the real world, which is actually 30 miles more than Cupra quote. They quote 260 on a full charge. And then just today, driving around, I've averaged, let me go into the vehicle data, and this is what I was talking about before, about the infotainment system being a little bit awkward to use. I'm averaging 4 miles per kilowatt hour. So on a 58 kilowatt hour battery, that would be a range of 232 miles. Admittedly, it is 21 degrees today, so we're getting good efficiency from the battery. But I think even in the depths of winter, as long as you drive carefully enough, you're going to get easily 200 miles out of this car. And actually in the summer, in warmer weather, I think most people will probably get more like 240 to 260 on a full charge, and then 290 if you're really kind of driving at a steady pace and with efficiency in mind. The interior is pretty decent quality, although as I've been driving it around, I've noticed a few creaks from some of the plastics, which in places feel a bit cheap and a bit too plasticky. Although this is a 3D effect that's actually textured, which is nice, and you've got a soft touch there. But lower down, it's a bit cheaper, and the door pockets, although they're large, they're not felt lined, so things will rattle around in there. You've got a nice armrest in the centre here, which is microfiber lined, and it lifts up to reveal a nice big cubby hole with a place to actually store your mobile phone as well. And you've got a couple of USB-C ports down there as well. And then in the centre console, you've got a nice big cubby hole. These cup holders are really good. They hold onto a can of pop or a bottle of water really well with these spring-loaded bits. And then you've got a little cubby there that you can put house keys in and things. On the motorway, it's smooth and quiet, gets good efficiency. On country roads, it's quite a dynamic feeling car to drive. What I've actually found is leaving it in comfort mode. That's the best mode to have it in. And it stops, starts and steers pretty well. So how would I summarise this car? It's all right. It's not bad at all. It's certainly not the most exciting thing I've ever driven. But for an electric car, it certainly gives a good account of itself. It gets down the road nicely. It accelerates, stops, starts and steers as you'd expect most VW Group products to. It could be better, but certainly for the money, I think it offers really good value for money. Would I have one myself? Probably not. I think for the money on most company car and salary sacrifice schemes, the Polestar 2 currently still offers better value. But if the Cupraborn is the only car on your choice list, or you just really love the way it looks, you certainly won't be disappointed by it. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. So here we are, following morning. Just been driving to work and having a think, and this car could be a little bit better, but do you know what? I maybe have been a bit harsh on it. It's not far from being pretty perfect. The infotainment system could be a bit better. It could feel a little bit more exciting to drive, but overall, it's decent.